Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about chasing work to get my ex back before.
It always worked. Never failed me.
You know, there are some people out there that do things that we don't recommend, and it does get their ex back. Sometimes they do a handwritten letter. Sometimes they go around the block. You know what I'm saying? That dreaded block, and they go through a different number, or they go through a friend
Email
or something, and it works. And so now you're like, well, that worked for me before. Why wouldn't I keep trying that?
Or maybe you got into arguments with your ex before and you noticed that to repair it, it was always you chasing or apologizing. So you've gotten into this pattern of, well, if I just chase, if I show that I care, if I do this grand gesture, then surely they would want me back.
And those things can happen. It's not like we're going to say those don't happen sometimes. They do. It's just that more often than not, it makes it worse. And I hear that on a weekly basis.
And you also have to think about the long run here. You know, you don't want to perpetuate a pattern in where they learn in order to get that attention that they need to initiate a breakup. Right? Because there can be this pattern that becomes really damaging to just the foundation of safety and trust in your relationship, where threatening to break up is the thing that, you know, brings that passion and excitement and grand gesture and all of these things. So you don't want to continue that type of pattern. And breakups over time could be taken a lot less seriously. You know, when somebody says, well, I'm going to break up. Okay, we've broken up 20 times. What does that even mean? So you want to show somebody when you say that, when you say, hey, I'm going to end this relationship, that those words are serious. You know, severing a relationship, it's not, you know, a everyday type thing. It's something that should be taken with a level of seriousness and concern, and that there's consequences to those things.
Meaning that you don't want to keep getting into these small breakups thinking that they're going to not lead to something, because you want to take each of these things seriously, because it's not going to be too many of those before it winds up ending for real.
Yeah. And if it's worked in the past, once again, we're not saying that it never works, but you don't want to have them begin expecting you to repair each time instead of them communicating and negotiating and bringing up what's happening within them before landing on the breakup decision. So you always chasing them, it takes them off the hook, and it removes responsibility from them. You know, people are a lot more likely to say, okay, well, you know, I messed up too, if they realize this other person isn't going to be doing all the work to repair it.
Absolutely. And the dynamic can become very one-sided.
Right. So if you always chase, the more you chase, they will have less reason to take a look at their own behavior, because it will be easier to point the finger.
Yeah. And why would they have to take accountability if they can sit there and blame you and you still go running back to try and get them back?
Yeah.
So it's not easy, but you do want to take each and every one of those pattern interrupts or mini breakups, whatever you want to call them, seriously, because ultimately, if you don't, it winds up with the final breakup. The ones that you hear them say, this one feels different.
Yes. Yeah.
You hear that often.
Oh, yeah.
I know you do, because I hear it too. We've broken up a few times, but this time it's different.
And many times you have already gone through the chasing them to figure out that it's not working, which is why Craig said in the beginning, you know, well, then why are you on this call, right? It's not working. And there can be a moment in your ex's mind where they've reached a limit. You know, they might be tired of that dynamic, just exhausted. They know all of the ways that you're going to try to repair. And so even those things have lost its value. Maybe you've written a handwritten letter before, and they've seen it, they've read it, it worked. You know, there was a sensationalism at the time. Maybe it was the first time they received a handwritten letter from you.
Yeah.
You know, now the second time around, it's going to have less of an impact. It's probably predictable. Oh, well, you know, they're going to write this letter. I already know what it's going to say. Is it genuine? Is it not? They're still probably going to be upset about the things that they're upset about.
And they're going to think to themselves, this isn't going to get any better. This isn't going to change. You've been saying this is going to be different, and it's not been. This is why we're telling you have to do the work and no contact. The people that aren't doing the work, when their ex comes back, they're going to wind up in this situation because all of the issues, the communication issues, whether it be the anxious avoidant trap, not giving people space, not knowing how to stay emotionally attuned, not having self-control, all of those things are going to come right back and cause another breakup.
Right. And chasing them again with no real time to work on your own issues, that's just a mission for failure. You know, if they broke up with you last week and you're already chasing, you're already doing all of these grand gestures, that's not enough time to really reflect and think about what's happened in the breakup and why they came to this decision and what are the underlying problems that have been happening, maybe even repeatedly, if things have worked before, if you've been able to repair before. And if you're in a situation where you continue to reach out to your ex and you try to repair even before you've really understood what their concerns are, then it is more reflective of you being really comfortable with the relationship, maybe afraid to be alone, having that separation anxiety, and not giving the problems proper attention. So many of you might say, well, you know, before I used to show up at their house unannounced and they were so happy about that. And we got back together and we were intimate and we pretended like nothing ever happened. That may work a couple times even. But we're thinking about the health and respect in your relationship. So things to consider.
And the other thing is that, did it really work if we're on a call with you or you're watching this video right now? Right? Because chances are you're still broken up with. And that's what I'm trying to get you to see is that, and I joked about it up front, is that these things quote unquote worked, but then you're telling me on the call that you're in a breakup and that you haven't heard from them or they're not responding anymore or they're ignoring you or they've blocked you. It's because these things usually don't work. And I want to emphasize this. No contact is by far the most powerful thing that you can do in a breakup. And when I say no contact, I mean don't reach out. Don't ignore them if they reach out, but they need to feel the space and the loss. And they will reach out to you when they are ready. When that happens, you want to show emotional self-control, show the growth. Don't tell them about the growth. Don't showboat about all the growth that you've made. It will come back to bite you. Trust me, it will. You show them that you've thought about things, that you've really focused on bettering yourself and doing what you can to have a healthier connection with them.
Right. And relationship repair is different than repairing from a breakup. When you're actively in a relationship and your partner says, hey, I'm upset, or I'm having doubts, or this is going on in my mind, repair for that looks very different from when your partner says, hey, I'm done with this relationship. I'm leaving and I'm out.
Yeah, that's
right.
Very big difference.
Yes. So if your partner is coming to you and with concerns and telling you those concerns, you know, that is a moment to be able to reassure, to be able to have those kind of conversations. But once your ex has said, hey, this is done, this is over, we have to respect that. And we can't be playing this game of, oh, well, they're breaking up with me, but I really know they want me to chase. That's setting up this really immature pattern for the future where now you can't trust really what they're telling you. And as adults, we have to be very clear with one another and very direct with one another. You know, if somebody tells us, hey, this relationship is over, we have to take them at their word. We can't assume yes means no and no means yes.
Yeah, you're not setting yourself up for success if you do things like that.
Yeah.
Leave them alone. Don't chase. If you do, it's very likely going to go poorly. I've seen it day after day, week after week. When people want to chase, it usually turns the other person off, makes them lose respect for you. They don't see the value anymore because it's like they know that they could say whatever, do whatever, and you're just going to come running, and people aren't holding each other accountable any longer, like with all the things that we're talking about. So leave them alone. Focus on healing, growing, and figuring out why it didn't work out in no contact, and let's see what happens then.
And I'll tell you that a lot of times your ex's perspective is, especially in this quote unquote final breakup, their perspective is, well, I better prepare myself for when my ex tries to repair and writes me a handwritten letter and tries to reach out. You know, they're already bracing for that rather than wanting to, you know, repair themselves, and rather than, you know, reflecting. They're saying, okay, well, if my ex reaches out and, you know, does all these grand gestures, I already know how I'm going to respond. So don't be predictable in this. I think if you were to lay low, give them that space, take them at their word, even if it's worked 10 times before, if you take them at their word this time, they're going to notice, oh, something is different. What's happening?
All right. So hopefully this one's been helpful for you. If you'd like to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Zoom calls. Coach Victoria is also available for Zoom calls.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. That's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.